In this tutorial, we're going to do a very quick overview of Thunkable. Now, there's lots of tutorials out there. This one is going to give you just enough to follow me through this series. So, I always like to have a plan before I code. So, my plan is to do this. I want to add a button to the screen. I want to make the screen change into a random color when you press that button. I'm going to see if that works, test that out. And then I'm going to add a second action to my event listener. And on that button click, I want my button text to change to a random color as well. Okay, so to get that, I'm going to give you a short tour. This is Thunkable. This is Thunkable X. So if yours doesn't look like this, then go ahead, pause this video, make sure that you're looking at Thunkable X, their newest version, and find me there. What we're going to do is, here's the design panel. This is where I get to drag and drop all the elements that my user touches. The block panel is where we're going to code what happens when they touch it. So as a little tour, this area here is, I'm going to call this the canvas. So for instance, I can drag and drop like a button. I can drag it, drop onto my canvas. There we go. Now, when this is selected, these properties down the side, you see this is about button 1. I can change my text right here. I'm going to say, press me. Press me. We're going to give that a second to catch up. Here I can change my font size, my colors, anything about this. Now I'm going to look down here. You see my height and my width. I'm going to go down here and I'm just going to touch very quickly on relative size versus absolute size. I think always use relative size. You are designing for potentially hundreds of different devices. They're all different sizes and resolutions. The only place they have in common is this 0, 0 coordinate up here at the top. And to make that work, we use relative size. This happens in web design too. Relative size means, relative size, for example, 50% of the screen. Or I could do an absolute size, which would say like 100 pixels. You want to use relative size because you want it to be flexible across different design, so you want it to relative to the size of their device. So we're going to come up here. Here I have a button. If I wanted to erase that button, I would erase it in the upper left right here. If I wanted to define it or change it somehow, I would do it over here. Okay, so that is, I have a button on the screen. So let's go up here to preview. Let's preview this. This is how you can test. There's several ways to test. I'm going to show you the web view here. When I press the button, nothing happens. And that's perfect because I haven't actually asked anything to happen. So I'm going to go back to edit. And where I ask something to happen is in the blocks. So here I have my button on the screen. And when something is on the screen, then I am able to design with it here. So here is where on this, here are all your blocks. Here's everything about control. If you want to do if, else, forever, math, I'll let you explore those. But what I want to show you is that Thunkable is pretty smart. What it does is down here at the bottom, these are the components I have added. So these, if I press on button 1 here, these are all the blocks that have to do with my button and that specific button. Now, when you get going, it can get a little frustrating to try to figure out where the block is that you're looking. I like that this is here because here is all the blocks that may pertain to that button across all these categories. So what I want to do is I want to add an event listener. And Thunkable, actually all of app design is based on these event models. I'm going to add an event listener. It is going to sit there in the background of my app. And when my button is clicked, that's what it's looking for. When my button is clicked, I want it to do something. Now, what do I want it to do? My original plan was I wanted it to change the screen color. Okay, interesting. Now, when I look in my buttons, when I look here, these are all about buttons, remember? I want to change a property of the screen. So I'm actually going to find that in the screen properties. So here I look through and you'll begin to understand the color and what all that means. But I am actually looking for something about color. So I am going to scroll down and here I see all sorts of options. Mine is probably a little further up. Here it is. I want to set screen to background color, and this is going to set it to black. Okay, so I go in here, you see I drag and drop it, and the shape of this fits in here. So that means I'm probably going in the right direction. But I didn't want black. So what I'm gonna do is I forget, you don't have to take this off. I want it to be a random color. So I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna go to math. That's a random, I'm gonna go to color because I can actually just pick a block for random color and put it on there. So now what this says is when button 1 is clicked, I want the screen's background color to change to a random color. So let's try that. We're going to go to live test. Oh, actually, I'm not going to go to a live test just yet. I am going to go back to design. I want you to just preview it on the web for now. Okay. So this is generating it. When I press the button, it changes the background color and it'll be random each and every time. Excellent. So that was part of what I wanted to do. The second part was I wanted to add a second action. So I'm going to go back to my edit. I'm going to go back to my blocks right here. Now I also I wanted the button text to change to a random color as well. Now, because that deals with the button, I'm going to look at the button right here, and here are all the properties. I'm going to choose this one, set button text color to this. Now, I wanted that to set to, I'm going to drag and drop that in here. I didn't want it to go to white. I wanted it to go to random. So I can go find my random block again, or I can duplicate it and drag and drop it right there. I can also control C, Control V. I can use your standard keyboard shortcuts. So let's test this now. To test, I go back into design. I go to my preview. Now there's two things I should look for. Is my background changing on my screen? And is my button changing the text on it? And there it is. There it is. It's all random. So you never know quite what color combinations you're going to get, but we've accomplished two things. Now, we now know how to add something to the screen. We know how to navigate our blocks a little. And we know how to use an event listener, which are like the building blocks of everything that happens in a mobile app. So with this, what I want you to do is I want you to practice. I want you to stop the video. I want you to try this yourself, because while block code looks deceivingly easy, as soon as you try it yourself, you still have to find where those blocks are, how you navigate around, and there's a little trial and error. So stop this video, see if you can make the screen change by a button click and the text change as your next step. See you in the next video to talk more about how to get data to the cloud and back.